guys, and welcome back to Hilltop Farm. I'm Jay, and welcome to another lesson in Wicca. Today is lesson number 10, called The Basics of Magic. The Basics of Magic. Witchcraft, or the craft, is both a religion and a system of magic. As a religion, its purpose is to put the individual in harmony with the divine creative principle of the universe. As a system of magic, its purpose is to achieve practical ends by the use of mind power. Magic, sometimes distinguished as magic spelt with a K on the end, is one of the most misunderstood subjects on earth. People either think that it is all illusion, like stage tricks, or they think of horror films and Hollywood movies. On one level, you can argue, yes, it's all illusion, because all of life is just an illusion, and at death, we wake up. However, at this stage of your studies, it might be more useful to consider magic as a particular dynamic form of positive thinking. Every part of life is like a journey. Before we set off, we plan a route carefully. As we go, we may discover an easier or more scenic route. If we are flexible enough, we can change course and take advantage of the better route. In this way, we can control our lives. Sometimes we need hard knocks, the difficult lessons. As we grow in wisdom and knowledge, we learn to plot less painful routes and seek out the beauty instead. Occult knowledge enables us to take control of our lives. In this way, we become winners. Magic is rooted in the deepest level of the mind. Interest in magic goes back to the dawn of mankind. The most powerful occultists are often primitive, uneducated people, because nobody has inhibited their powers by telling them it is all impossible mumbo-jumbo. Yet magic remains deeply rooted in the mentality of modern people. Witchcraft, in the sense that we use the term here, is largely a European phenomenon. The witch doctor or shaman of tribal societies represents a rather different, though very powerful, kind of magic. Also in Europe, there is a strong tradition of ritual magic, of the kind practiced by Aleister Crowley and his contemporaries. Although very different in nature, there has been an inevitable amount of crossover between the different traditions. A lot of nonsense has been written about the difference of black and white magic, and indeed black and white witches. Basically, if you work black, you are harming other people. If you work white, you are helping others and yourself. In theory, there can be no such thing as a black witch, because the first law of Wicca, and it harm none, would prevent a witch from treading what is often called the left-hand path. In practice, we are all human, and sometimes we seek revenge. Most witches, if pressed, would admit to being rather grey. Remember, however, that we live in a world of abundance, and even if we are sometimes blind to its possibilities, there is no need for a skilled occultist to take from another. You can always create what you want to for yourself. The Hermetic principles. A cornerstone of magic law since the earliest time has been the 7 Hermetic principles. These were recorded in the Emerald Table. Legend has it that the Emerald Table was a tablet of genuine emerald engraved with Phoenician writing. It is said to have been found in a cave tomb Still clutched in the skeletal hand of the sage Hermes Trismegistus. Another legend attributed the building of the pyramids to Hermes by 2012 AD. Arab and Latin translation of the Emerald Tablet were in circulation. Some of the translations differ, but the important details are generally the same. There are great forces operating in the universe, each doing its own thing. The light aspects create, and the dark aspects destroy. Yet they should not be considered as good or evil. All things move in a circle of life and death, and the old, worn-out things must be cleared away to make room for the new. By attuning ourselves to these forces, we can learn to manipulate some of their effect for our own good. The forces that move the universe are basically the same as those that move us. The forces within ourselves, although often neglected, are powerful indeed. To discover these forces and to attune to them is an essential part of all occult training. Know thyself was the advice given by the oracle at Delphi. These great universal forces are often given god or goddess names. Some are named after angels, archangels, and demons. Still others are equated with planets. This should not be taken too literally. It is more like an ancient filing system. More details of this will be given as the course unfolds. A change in the vibration rate causes a change in the manifestation. Heat causes molecules to vibrate faster. Water vibrating fast, or hot, manifests as steam. Water vibrating slowly, cold, manifests as ice. Quantum physics is exploring the possibilities of changing the vibration of atoms by changing their subatomic particles. This was also the dream of the alchemist, although their methods were somewhat different. All things have their characteristic vibrations, and it is not just material things either. Health, sickness, wealth, poverty, happiness, sadness, they all have vibrations which can be altered. Change the vibration by the application of mind, and you change the manifestation. Everything has its pair of opposites. These opposites are identical in nature, differing only in degree. Tall and short, fear and faith, love and hate, sickness and health, rich and poor, creation and destruction. All are opposite ends of the same scales. All universal forces have both a negative and a positive. Of all pairs of opposites, the gender polarity is probably the most important. This is not just about men and women. The principle goes much deeper. In fact, all men have both masculine and feminine aspects, as do women. Everywhere in nature we see a positive, outgoing masculine aspect, as well as a negative, receptive, feminine one. There are rhythmic cycles of growth and deterioration, life and death. Even ordinary daily events have their regular cycles. The sun comes up every morning and sets every night. The phases of the moon repeat endlessly every 29 days. Every aspect of your life, your biorhythms can be plotted. This is why all good occultists use diaries. For instance, if you can identify a lucky cycle, you will know when to gamble and when to keep away from the racetrack. The same thing goes for all aspects of your life. Apparent accidents and coincidences are just the result of unrecognized causes. The law of cause and effect is universal. Magic is an attempt to identify and control this principle. Thought and power. Thought is an energy form and cannot be destroyed. Every thought we think makes an impression on the universal mind. In occult terminology, we often say we are impressing our thoughts on the semi-material dimension called the astral or the etheric. These terms mean slightly different things, but at this stage you might as well consider them to be synonymous. How big an impression you make depends on the strength of your thought. This is why I call magic dynamic positive thinking. It is of little use just to think small positive thoughts. Rather, your thoughts need to be empowered by the techniques of magic. Then they can make a big impression on the universal mind and become objective reality in the material world of form. We build power in many ways, by chanting, drumming, using correspondences, using names of power, through sexual tension, the dynamics of gender, yin-yang. Unfortunately, this is often misunderstood, and in many other ways. The different forces that govern the universe are different aspects of the universal mind. The mind of God. There are those responsible for growth, preservation, love and peace. There are those that cause harm, destruction, hatred, war and death. We tend to classify these two types as either positive or negative. Or as mentioned earlier, no moral judgment is being implied. Both types of force are equally necessary in the universe. The negative ones clearing away and the positive ones bringing the new life. This idea cannot be overstressed because progress is only possible when the positive and negative aspects work in harmony. This is why it is important for us to balance the positive and negative sides of our own personalities. We cannot make progress by repressing one in favour of the other. That way lies psychosis. The complete human soul needs to experience all things before it can reunite with the Godhead. In magic, we can tap into and harness the great universal forces. They come both from inside ourselves as well as from without. One way of using these forces is through the use of correspondences. They help us to forge a link between our own minds and the corresponding aspect of the universal mind. The more correspondences we can work into our rituals, the stronger the magic. We will deal with this aspect in more detail in a later lesson. In this essay, we have set out some of the most fundamental cornerstones of magic. Magic is real. As children, we knew it was real. As we grew up, we were brainwashed out of this belief. Although administered by well-meaning adults, this brainwashing was a form of abuse forced on us by our modern society and mainstream religions. Some of us reacted violently to this abuse. Our magical old brains shouted out, "What do you mean I don't exist? I will prove to you that I bloody well do exist." And our magical inner selves proved their existence and power by producing a poltergeist effect. Furniture, crockery or pictures were hurled across rooms as absolute proof that magical exists within us. And by that, obviously I'm exaggerating, but I'm talking about those difficult children and the terrible twos and all that. But alas, most of us take our abusive programming quietly, and our magic fades. By thinking about the ideas presented in this course, and by performing the meditations and rituals that you will be given, it is possible to reverse the brainwashing and to reawaken your magical old brain. Okay, this week's assignment. I want you to list in your journals as many opposites as you see, hear, feel, or just know that are around you. Then also in your journal, list what you feel are your good points and your bad. Remember, we all have both, and if you're honest, you will see them. Once you have done this, try to balance them in your mind, in your relaxation and meditation work. Concentrate on finding the yin and yang inside yourself. And that's the lesson for today. Bit heavy going perhaps, but as I've said to you before, it's all about mind power, visualization, meditation, all important to make it work. Now, just as a bit of a bonus, down in the description below, I've printed out a couple of very simple, very basic starter spells for you to practice on. So if you go to the link below, there will be links to these printouts. Print them out. I recommend, because we're not up to the point where you're keeping a book of shadows yet, so you're keeping journals but no book of shadows. But anything like this, anything you do like this, start collecting in a folder, and make sure if you do these spells that you enter it in your journal, you keep track, you make notes on what you did, how successful it was, and all that kind of thing. Now, first one, unbelievably easy, and I think this does apply to most of us. It is a spell to curb your frivolous spending. As you probably have gathered, Wicca is not about magic that, to benefit you materially. You don't do spells to make you rich or win the lotto or things like that, because that is not what it's about, and it won't work if you try, so don't bother. It's not to be used for personal gain. It's to be used for personal improvement. Now, most of us, rather than try and do a spell to attract money or what have you, that's not personal improvement, that's personal gain. Personal improvement is doing what, as I say, most of us are guilty of, and that is, we all spend too much money. So this is a spell to help curb frivolous spending. Okay, and it's extremely simple, very easy, and it is effective. And this was in fact the first spell that I ever did, so I'm passing that on to you. Okay, and it worked for me. It absolutely 100% worked. I used to live week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and even then it didn't last. Financially, I'm not a rich person now. But now when a bill comes in, I've got the money to pay it. If the car breaks down, I can get it fixed. And it's because of this spell. So that is a fact. So print it out, give it a go. Your first spell. Alright? And as I say, the link for that is in the description below. Another one that I highly recommend for you is this one. Okay, it is a house protection spell. And this is a spell that you do obviously to protect your house. It's not to protect, it doesn't protect it from, thieves breaking in. Don't think you can cancel your alarm service or something. No, this is to get rid of negativity, bad vibrations, if you feel there's perhaps bad energy in the house, or you've just moved into a house that's sort of got, you know, people say it's got bad vibes or whatever. You could have had visitors and ended up with a flaming great argument, and it's just left some negativity in the house. This will protect it. This will get rid of all the negative energy out of the house, right? And again, it works. It really does. Now, one of the things people have said to me, oh, but, you know, it's so expensive, right? It's not expensive. It calls for 4 handfuls of lavender. Okay, now if you go out and you buy from a boutique shop sort of lavender potpourri, well, of course it's going to cost you a lot of money. But Wiccans need certain herbs, and lavender is classed as a herb. It's a medicinal herb, and it's used in aromatherapy. And where possible, you should have minimum of 1 plant in your garden. And if you have only got a patio, you can grow beautifully in a pot plant. But if you've got the room, 3 or 4 lavender easily. Dry it yourself. Use it fresh in there. It doesn't say it has to be dried. It doesn't say it has to be the flowers. The leaves of the lavender plant have the same qualities as the flowers do. So get back in touch with nature and grow it yourself, and it'll be even better than buying the stuff, and it will be free. So anyway, enough on that. Print that out, as I say, in the link below, that one, and the curb your spending spells, all in the link below. There's also, in the link below, the printout for lesson 10, which, as I said to you, is the basics of magic. Okay, that's in the link below, as is the email address for the school, and the link to our affiliation with the Book Depository. Buy all your books by clicking on that link, going into the Book Depository and making a purchase. And we get a little bit of money if you do that to help fund the school and the channel and bring you these lessons. So that's all from us for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson. Join us again next week. If you like this lesson, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any other videos. And until then, it's goodbye from Hilltop Farm. See ya!